Well, hello there, my crypto bit brothers and sisters. It sure is good seeing you, and thank you for joining the Crypto Bit Brothers, Papa Ron and Bulldog Rod here. We're here to tell you some common sense about crypto and about how it's going to grow. Right on, Ron. Right on, catch a tone. I got to tell you a little story about that. I had a school district I was selling to, and the head of the maintenance guy was named Andy De Leon. I sure love that guy. He was so cool. Every time I'd come in, it'd say "Poco pelos panzón," meaning bald head and big belly. That's what he'd call me. Every time he'd see me, "Poco pelos panzón," and I'd always go, "Right on, catch a tone."
I remember years ago you saying that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's the way it is with crypto. It's right on, catch a tone.
Yeah, and you know, that's exactly right, because things are still moving forward in this whole industry. I just can't believe how many things we read every day that affirm that people are going to flock into this at one point. It's just a matter of time and getting everybody's ducks in a row. I mean, look at all the big people that are dropping into this thing. All the naysayers, come to find out, have been in the background getting into it themselves.
No.
Whether it be banks and stuff. And just to prove that point, Rod, here's just a couple quick headlines that kind of affirm that. And these are from, I believe, yesterday. As Bitcoin goes on the rise again, 1 in 5 financial firms say that they may start trading cryptocurrencies within the next 12 months.
Look at that.
That's 20%. And they're already saying that.
20%.
Yeah, they're already saying that without even being out there, you know. Well, they're out there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then along with that 20%, and here, this announcement's been floating around already a bit, this NASDAQ is open to becoming cryptocurrency exchange. Yeah, talk about making it available to the masses as far as all these financiers and people that deal with money all the time. And you know, when companies like this, when they make announcements and like it may be, we're thinking about it, and they don't come out and say something unless it's on the drawing board and they're about ready to go. Right, Ron? I mean, honestly.
That's right. That's right.
Of course, you got to look at NASDAQ, and you know, we've shown on previous videos that they're one of the investors in Coinbase.
Yeah, they are.
Which is the biggest exchange in the world at this point.
You know, if it does get on the exchanges like NASDAQ, and then, you know, it'll bleed over to the other exchanges too eventually.
Oh, I think
because it is worldwide.
No, I agree. I think they're already working on it.
You know, the thing about it is it will really get a lot of exposure then. You know, we're only, I don't know, it used to be last year when we came in, we were less than 1% of the people recognizing cryptocurrency. But today, I don't know what it is. It could be up to 5%.
No, it could be more than that. At least aware of it. They might not be participating yet. I mean, I talk to people all the time that have heard of it and are aware, but, you know, they haven't researched it enough to say, yeah, this is something we need to look at.
Yeah, I know.
But you're right. Matter of fact, while you're talking about that, Rod, that leads us right in to this chart that we had used before. You had said, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, we used it for last year, and last year, look at it. Just in a year, Bitcoin is 41 billion, and the total cryptocurrency is 100 billion. And today, let's see what it is today. Today, it's 406 billion. The total cryptocurrencies. So we went up 4 times.
Yeah, we've caught up with
Just
Amazon.
in a matter of a year.
Yeah, or less, really.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting, folks. This kind of puts it in perspective of how small the crypto industry is. Like Rod said, back when this chart was made or we used, like Rod said, Bitcoin was only at 41 billion on the market cap. And now Bitcoin itself is
155 billion.
And the total market is 400 billion. So all cryptocurrencies have grown 4 times on this chart.
I know.
And so even if you take it up to where Amazon is 400 billion, and I don't know if any of these other things have grown, US dollars in circulation, Apple, Amazon, gold market cap, physical money, I don't know, but it's still in perspective. If you look at the bubble for 400 billion, it's still relatively small compared to like the stock market. I mean, the stock market is 66 trillion, folks. Back when this was done a year ago. It's small potatoes compared to what's going on in the financial market out there. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit. But we had one other article, Rod, but since you mentioned that, but let me go back to this Goldman Sachs thing here. Goldman Sachs names crypto trader Justin Schmidt head of digital assets. So in other words, Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest naysayers all along, all of a sudden they feel they need a whole position filled by somebody that understands crypto and trading and so on. And they hired the man for the job, this Justin Schmidt.
Yeah, they sure did. So how many millions are paying him a year?
This is just an indication of where all this is headed. And I know we've been harping on this for the last couple weeks, but there's so much activity going on in the old system, the fiat system, the banker system, that there's so much activity moving towards crypto, you can't help but take notice.
Oh, yeah. There's no way.
And folks, these guys aren't coming on to do a little bit of trading over at Coinbase or something. They're coming on with major dollars, major money. I read some other things, and we didn't have them up here, Rob, but I read some stuff early this morning that talks about how, like, Sweden is probably the, I don't want to say the first, but I think the article indicated that they're talking about doing their own cryptocurrency. Now, not as a country, but their banking system, their central bank wants to come up with a digital cryptocurrency. And I don't want to say compete, but the impression I got as I read through it is these banks are worried. They're worried that we're leaving their system and they're scratching at straws to come up with something to compete with cryptocurrency. They know that the adoption
Writing's on the wall, man.
It is. And I think some of them realize that. Like Goldman Sachs, hey, we better get involved with this. Or NASDAQ, hey, we better get in somewhere before we're left in the dust. They realize, especially these banks, that the system is changing. But when I read these articles, Rod, what amazes me is that they're missing the point. The point is, it's not that we want a digital currency regulated by you SOBs. We want a decentralized system where we control our own destiny financially. We're not regulated and told. Now, true, everybody says, yeah, we got to have some regulation. And we talked about that the other day, Rod, and I can see some points where regulation has a bearing within the industry. But again,
I don't. Shouldn't rule us.
That's right. I don't want to take the accountability away from us as individuals. If you don't do your homework and you make just like in the stock market, if you pick the wrong company to buy stocks in, hey, that's your tough luck, man. And that's why they get. Go ahead, Rod.
No, I was going to say, we don't need a welfare system on digital currency.
That's right. We got to be accountable for ourselves, and that's the problem. We as a country and as a world have moved into this entitlement scenario programs where we rely on government agencies to take care of us and to set the precedents and to protect us. And so as the more handouts we get and accept, the more reliant we become on them, and the more they control and have power over us.
Amen.
So to break it from that, this is the big chance. It's this crypto. It's the decentralization, putting it back into our own hands. So even though there needs to be some regulation, I guess to a point, and maybe we ought to define what that is one day, Rod.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas. But other than that, I vote to go back to being accountable to ourselves. And again, I want to say, hey, if you don't, if you're unemployed and you need to grow your own food. Now, for a while I got, and I'm just rambling now. Sorry. I got involved over in Western Samoa years ago, Rod. I had a group contact me about getting involved in a resort over there. Now, where am I headed with this?
I don't know. I have no idea.
We were talking about being accountable to ourselves. And if you wanted to grow your own food and so on. But over there, some of those guys, they would go out fishing every morning for the daily food they needed. They had their tribe or whatever you call them. They had properties, so there was no and they could just go survive by feeding themselves. But in the United States, we can't do that. They have so many regulations on everything, what we can and cannot do. How
many fish we can catch.
Well, not only that, you go to California out there by Barstow and some of those, they're condemning those properties and making those people shut down because they're not hooked up to the utilities. They have their own well, solar power, but yet, according to the government, the local government, they're saying, no, you have to be connected to us or we're going to condemn your property. It's a nightmare out there. So these are some of the things.
California.
Yeah, but it's some of the things we face in this country, that we have lost all our freedoms and rights to do anything because everything is regulated. And then we go as far as even home, what do you call it when you got a new subdivision and they have a homeowners association?
Oh yeah, HOAs.
HOAs. They even tell you what color you can paint your house and what lands,
what kind of fence to put up,
and then guess what? It's to the point we pay them to regulate us. How much can I pay you guys to tell me what the hell I can do with my own property?
That don't make sense. That has never made sense to me, man.
Yeah. And then, so you start off with 100 homes, homeowner association, and they all pay their fee to keep this little organization dictatorship going. Well, guess what? And here's what's going on in our country, folks. If 10 of these homes, the people move out because they can't afford them and there's foreclosures and these homes sit vacant, nobody paying the homeowners association, guess what? The other 90 get an increase. That's right, because they're not going to be caught short on dictating to you what you can do. So the more homes that are empty within these... You okay, brother?
Yeah, that caught me. That was funny. That's funny. I can't believe people do that.
But it's true. You can read articles all the time about it, that they raise the rates on those that are still existing. So you got some tracts, and I believe they're in Florida, where you got 40% occupancy. Man, the extra 60% are now almost paying double on their homeowners association to keep the dang thing going.
Yeah.
Because they need those regulations. Anyway, we're way off track.
Hey, why don't you do me a favor and go back to that graph with the bubbles. Now it says there that gold is 8.2 trillion. Well, I just pulled it up on the internet, and it says that gold market cap is 7.8 trillion. So has gold dropped
Well,
since
they
last year?
and you
I
know I
thought
follow
everybody
gold and
keeps
silver
saying that
too.
it's up.
No, it's not up. It's not. And same with silver. You can't get silver above $17 an ounce they are so consistent, but again, you know my voice. It's all
Oh yeah, that's all
regulated and
regulated.
manipulated.
Sure,
It's not a true
sure.
market anymore.
No, it's not.
So,
But it is good for us who buy it because it's consistent.
well, and that's the bankers' whole beef about cryptos, the volatility. And but God, we're still at the beginning stages, and it's not used as a currency yet, folks.
No,
It's just
you know
not.
the one thing about gold though, when you buy gold, you never want to buy gold on paper. You always want to buy gold where you hold it. You know what I mean? Now there are some gold places you can buy the gold, and it's all on paper, speculation, I'm sure. They say, okay, you can own this amount of gold, but there's more gold on paper than there is actually in reserve. You know, the
No, for
actual
every
hard.
ounce they have, they're selling like 100 ounces for that 1 ounce. It's all
But when you
it's
buy from a reputable gold place, you can actually get the gold
take
in your
possession.
hand. You can actually get it in your hand. That's what you want. You want to hold it.
Yeah, I agree. So here's a couple other things, folks, that
Okay.
shows you how this mass adoption is coming. And Rod, that was a good point. We're talking, you know, what if Bitcoin gets up to a $3 or $4 trillion market?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. There's right now, folks. I think it's 2 billion people in the world that don't have access to banks,
Yeah.
and how crypto could solve all that. Talk about mass adoption.
Yeah.
So if this gets up to a much bigger market cap, can you see the amount of people in here vying for the same tokens that you have? I mean, there's only, I think I just read too that the 17 millionth Bitcoin just got mined. And there's only a
Oh,
total of 21 million.
yeah.
So, and the mining is becoming a lot harder, but you'll have more and more people vying for the same portion or the same amount of crypto that's out there. So when this market gets going, it's going to get going. As a matter of fact, I had one other graph here, Rod.
Okay.
And not only that, talk about blockchain adoption. That is in high gear.
Yeah.
We've talked about that several times. There's not a company out there, a major company, that's not looking at blockchain
Not
technology.
or not in it. Look at all the car manufacturers now that are in it.
It's crazy. A lot of them are coming into it.
Sure is.
So I want to kind of quickly look and compare where crypto's at now to what some of the adoption things have been in the past, mainly the internet. And how many years? And the internet, you know, they got started about 1991, but it took about 7 years before finally it started to really take off in the amount of users that are using it, and so on. And Rod, you remember we went through the dot-com bubble. We've talked
Oh
about
yeah.
that too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
folks, what's interesting about this too is that those people, not people, but the main companies that were big, they survived and went astronomical as far as value of that stock.
Yeah.
So compare that, and this goes back to what Rod and I were talking about the other day a little bit. The big players, the ones that are going to be adopted and used every day, are the ones that's going to have the most value.
Yep.
So, yeah, all these little new coins and tokens, they all have great purpose, but boy, you better keep some of your money in some of the big players. Just like if you started back when Amazon. I mean, you know, you better make sure you invested in like Amazon, I'm sorry, the internet, Amazon, or some of these big boys, Internet Explorer, Facebook. I mean, they're the
Oh,
ones
yeah.
that really carried the weight and made people rich by holding on to the stocks of the big ones. And what are the big ones today? You know, we kind of talked about that the other day, but obviously you better have a portion into Bitcoin and Litecoin. Ethereum. We gave a list kind of, but
Yeah.
This is just on the verge of going when people start. And if you got the big boys like the bankers and the stock markets and everybody vying for a position and getting in line to be part of the industry, you know where it's headed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an indication where it's going.
Yep.
So I think we talked longer than we should, but
yeah, we're just rambling now.
Well, yeah, and even this chart indicates, you got the internet. It's all over the world now.
That's too bad. It's only back to 2012. This chart, man. Can you imagine what it is today? Oh my heck! It's going to be. It's so far up there we can't even find it now. What gets me is I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he's got some Litecoin, and he's frustrated. Yeah, well, lately it's been a little better, but prior to it start going up here past week, he was so frustrated, man, with this stuff. He was ready to get rid of it. And I kept saying, man, you need to hold this stuff. Is it hurting you to keep that money in there a little?
Yeah, where else would he have it? Making 2% at the bank?
Yeah. I mean, it's hell. It's a lot better than a freaking bank or even in the stock market. I don't know. To me, it's going to go up so fast and so quick here pretty soon.
Yeah,
I'm holding on to that, and I'm hodling.
Well, here's my suggestion that you need to tell your friend, Rod.
Okay.
Just watch our shows, and you'll be convinced that this stuff is going to go.
I told you that.
There's one damn channel to tune into. It's the Crypto Bit Brothers.
We're positive. We know it's going up.
Folks, we appreciate you listening to us. And, if you think the internet took over the world, crypto is on its way. And it's going to take over, too. There is so much there's so much practical and use in the advantage that it's going to be unbelievable. Anyway, Rod, thanks for having us.
Oh, no, thank you for letting me be on here. You're the guy with all the techno. You got the son with all the techno stuff. Hey, we appreciate you folks watching us, and give us a thumbs up and put some comments in there. We love to hear from you. We really do. We do read them. And may not comment on all of them, but we will eventually.
No, don't say that.
Oh, okay.
There's sometimes so many comments, I don't know how we'd respond to all of them, but we do read them.
Yeah, we do go through them. It's fun. It's funny, too. It's enjoyable. Hey, appreciate you guys again, and God bless.